On breaking points, Saagar is the ostensibly right-leaning figure out of himself and Crystal Ball, so I tend to agree with him a little more often. But recently, Saagar put out a tweet slating Europe, and this segment is him defending his stance. Now, obviously, this was done in a jocular fashion, but I still wanted to address some of the points, because I'm fucking triggered!
Europe is substantially poorer, more racist, less dynamic, much less free than the United States. Food is bland, the coffee tastes like shit, the weather is mostly awful, their primary cultural export is tourism, and they have less say in the affairs of the world.
Firstly, that Europe is poorer. I thought this show was anti-elitist. Secondly, that we're more racist in Europe. I don't know where he's getting this from. Statistics are generally hard to find on this sort of thing. But this one, for example, says Scandinavian, Latin countries and the United Kingdom are the most tolerant. It counts the United States as an outlier, with the United States being 69th out of 78, one of the most intolerant countries. This is just perception of conflicts between ethnic groups, but as you can see, the US is much higher than its European counterparts. I did find studies that painted the USA in a more favourable light, like this one, that puts the USA at 14th least racist country in the world. Like I said, this type of thing is hard to measure, but the studies I've read do seem to indicate that Europe is less racist than the USA. I'm going to jump straight to the food is bland comment, which I think is one of the more outlandish ones. Obviously, this is very subjective. If we look at the 50 best restaurants of 2021, things appear very Eurocentric. Spain alone has more entries than the United States, despite the vast population size difference. And if you're looking at the country with restaurants with the most Michelin stars, you can see France, Italy, Germany, and Spain all ahead of the United States. The contrast is even starker when you take population into account. Despite having 1/5 of population size, France has more than 3 times the Michelin stars that the US does. And just in case you think, oh, that's just snobby critics, Ranker, a website where anyone can go in and vote on a given topic, asked which countries have the best food. Italy was voted number 1, with the US all the way down at 35, with many European countries in between, with Greece and Spain doing particularly well, for example. Next, on to the point of freedom, which is heavily associated with the United States.
So my definition of freedom includes, having the sort of positive liberty of social programs that allow people to live and thrive and achieve and have happiness. And if you look at the, sort of well-being rankings of our country versus Europe, we do terribly.
This is a terrific point by Crystal, because if we look at the World Happiness Report, we can see the United States is at 16, behind Germany, Ireland, Austria, Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, Finland. You can actually break it down by freedom to make life choices. And the US performs quite badly, worse than Denmark, Finland, Switzerland, Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Austria, Ireland. Even Germany and United Kingdom score slightly better than the US. When you break it down by healthy life expectancy, the US performs more like a developing country rather than a developed country.
The weather, again, really depends. Like, Spain has some wonderful, Greece has some wonderful weather, Italy has some wonderful weather.
Yeah, the weather varies greatly across Europe. But again, what's the point in good weather if you're overall less happy and less healthy?
I just want to address one thing on this freedom point. I agree with you. Certainly, it is better to be a probably lower to middle class person in Europe than probably anywhere else on the globe.
Again, I thought the show was meant to be anti-elitist. Saagar is saying that Europe is better for the lower/middle classes. So you're admitting that for the average person, Europe is better, but US is better if you're an elite or upper classer. Isn't that a problem with the inequality that you're always complaining about? You're admitting that Europe is more equitable.
But also, they don't have actual guaranteed Bill of Rights. So you can just have your assets seized, you can't own a gun.
The gun point seems kind of feckless when you had 2 mass shootings within, a week of each other? But overall, the Bill of Rights, that's a fair argument. I do think the Constitution overall is kind of overrated, but that's a video for another day. I do want to make clear, despite its many flaws, I do love the United States. Not to be puerile, but Saagar started it. They say your health is your wealth, and Europe is healthier and happier overall than the United States, and I think that trumps any benefits you can find across the pond. Country to country, Europe is a lot more diverse in its history and culture. We have a unique and shared history that stretches back a lot longer than the United States. The US is around 245 years old. Compare that to the around 1,000 years of a lot of European countries. I know a lot of this was a joke, but I still wanted to address some of it. I love this more trolly demeanor of Saagar. Some of his comments were hilarious, like this one. Coffee without some stupid biscuit on the side that I don't even need. Eat shit, Europe. Even though I'm part of the demographic he's telling to eat shit, I still think this comment's so funny. Anyway, I love Europe and I love the US. We're more similar than we are different. And this banter and joking about each other reminds me of schoolboys. They insult each other, call each other names, but it's actually a sign of their friendship rather than animosity.